Uh, Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm Wenjun Long. I just come from China. I'm from Ministry of Agriculture. I'm just visiting a visiting scholar in Cornell University. So I'm happy to join with you to take part in this seminar and as a moderator to take in charge this part of the section. So it's a very good chance for so many China scholars to communicate with the rural development in China. It's very good for not only for China, but also for the whole world. So in this section, there are six speakers. Every speaker has about 9 minutes. And after that, maybe 5 minutes for discussion. So the first one is Wen Jinyu, who comes from China Academy for Rural Development in Zhejiang University and the Stanford Center on China Economy and Institutions, Stanford University. And her co-author are Kobe Abbey, and so many co-authors. So let's welcome Wenjin.
Thank you. Let me share the screen. Oh, sorry. I'm a little bit nervous. We'll see. Oh, well. Oh, okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Wenjing and come from Zhejiang University, and now I'm a visiting student in Stanford. Thanks for coming, and today my presentation was titled as The Strengths and Difficulties in Mental Health and Their Impact on Academic Performance in Rural Youth in China. The words that I highlight in red are our keywords. Well, I will introduce our paper from 4 aspects: the problem, objective, approach, and our main results. Okay, let's begin with our problem. Well, mental health is a big issue all over the world. And globally, there are about 10 to 20% of the children and adolescents that experience some form of the mental illness. However, most of the current literature, they just focus on such a topic in high-income countries, although the majority of the school-age students, they live in low and middle-income countries. So what happened in developing contexts, and how about the prevalence and consequence of the poor mental health in developing contexts still need to get further understood. For the consequence of the poor mental health, some scholars find that the better mental health is positively associated with their better academic outcomes. And some scholars also find evidence that the worst academic performance has also been found associated with the poor mental health conditions. So we can see that the low academic achievement can be considered as an unfortunate consequence of mental illness. But the existing literature considers such a link, such an association, especially in developing countries, is still limited. There are 2 main limits: the limit data, like a small sample size, or without considering too much impact of the social environmental factors, or the limit dimensions. Most of the existing literature, they just focus on a specific mental health condition, like a depression or anxieties. Because of lack of the data, it is very hard to draw a whole picture of such stories. So there are still a lot of things remain to be learned, especially from a very specific dimensions of the mental health, and to create such association among the low and middle income countries. Well, for the developing context, we insisted that rural China can be considered as an ideal setting, as a good case to study such issues. First, we know that the Chinese rural population, they are more likely to lag far behind the urban residents because of their poor mental health care and educational resources. And actually, there are about more than 70% of the students, they actually grow up in China with poor academic and mental health outcomes. And if you compare with the urban student, we can find the rural student, they are more likely to experience a mental health problem, like externalizing or internalizing problem, like depression, anxiety, or they will more likely to tell the lie or steal some things. Also, there are a lot of potentials to encourage youth in rural China to let them get better performance. So we raised our question that is there a link between poor mental health and worse academic performance in rural China? So our objective of this paper just to fulfill the gap that we mentioned and to answer the above question that we mentioned, to examine the association between the student mental health and their academic performance in rural China. For the approaches, the data that we use, the data set we collect from the rural region in Gansu province, including 1,500 students from 30 schools, and they are graded in 4, 5, 7, and 8, like it should be the elementary school and the middle school. For the outcome measure, there are 3 main parts. For the mental health, we use a valid and international scale called the Strength and Difficulty Questionnaire, the SDQ, like this. There are 25 items in this questionnaire. It's a valid and international scales to measure the mental health. There are 25 items in that, and we can divide these 25 items into 5 subskills: the emotion, conduct, hyperactivities, per-relationship, and per-socials. But the first 4 subskills can be conducted into 2 parts: the externalizing problem and internalizing problems. These 2 parts, there are one kind of reminder that this 2 part means the higher score means the more problems in their mental health. So higher is worse, but lower is better. Another skill is a prosocial skill, like prosocial capabilities among the students. Except for the continuous variable of the score, we also create the dummy variables according to a 3-band categorization cutoffs to see whether the score of the students was in abnormal range or not. The second part is academic performance. We measure it by a 30-minute standard math test because we think it is more related to what they are learned from schools rather than from their social or their life or their families. The second part is control variables. We consider the family support, bullying status, and other social environmental characteristics to be the control variable. So here is our mean regression. It is very simple. It's a linear regression. We use OLS to estimate it. The first table is the summary statistics, just to save the time, so I will skip it. It's very basic information to see the gender balance or the average age like this. The second table is summary statistics of the STQ score that we estimated from our samples. And you can, the first part, the above part, we show the mean average scores of each STQ subscores. And the second part is the prevalence of the student who have the problem or who have abnormal STQ scores. You can see here, there are about 10% of the students who suffering from the mental health according to our SDQ results. And we also do the international comparison to see what happened in China. Well, the total difficulty score is equal to externalizing plus with internalizing. So higher is worse. Well, our sample scores with 12.4, about 12.4. It's much higher than most of the other studies they have done in other countries, like in US or Netherlands, other developing countries. But for the prosocials, higher is better, but the prosocial score of our sample is almost lower than most of the studies have done in other countries as well. So it sounds like the mental health of our rural samples in China did not perform well in their mental health when they are compared with other developing countries. This is additional information to show the association between the children's mental health and the environmental factors, just to give us some idea to say how to enhance the mental health of the children, like implication here. Table 4 is our main results to show you the association between the SDQ score and the mental and the academic performance. We can also see the association between mental health and academic performances. The result is robust. Well, for the continuous variable that we can see the higher externalizing score or internalizing score, that means they met more problems in their externalizing or internalizing. They have more mental health problems. Their math test score get lower. Well, the students who have the higher prosocial score, like they have more prosocial skills, is associated with the higher academic performance, with higher math test score. This is continuous variables result, but for dynamic variable results, we use a dynamic variable to say whether the students have an abnormal score or not. We find that no matter what kind of abnormal score, like in external, internal, or prosocial categories, okay, no matter what kind of the abnormal performance they have or mental health they have, they will have lower math test score. We also give you additional information to show the very clear trend between SDQ subscore, subscale score, and the math test score. Here the summary that to do the conclusion, but for conclusion, we just want to emphasize mental health appears to play a very important role in helping rural children to achieve academically despite their disadvantaged social context. And last sentence, the main implications are that we have to pay more attention to the rural student to increase their mental health and to help them, give them more chance and access in school and in their life. That's all of my presentation, and your comments are welcome. Thank you. Yeah. Yes. Yes, we use a class fixed effect from the school level. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but each class we only select, I remember 10 or maybe 20, 10 or 20 students. Yes. Yes, because we only have the cross-sectional data, so we just show you the association results. But we will try to do the follow-up to see like causal effect there. Oh, we try to do that, and we do it as our further research in our papers, but I didn't show them other heterogeneity test here. Thank you.
Where can you get your data from different countries? Oh,
actually, they are not the data that we collect from different countries, but we collect the results from other existing literatures. There are some studies they have done by other scholars in different countries, but we just calculate as a like literature review here. But we do the comparison to say the Chinese situation.
What I mean is, the other country you can get the data, and where can you get the data from China? Only from Wuhan?
Oh well, actually, we didn't find that there are a lot of existing researchers have done that they use the SDQ skills in China, but we only find the one studies they happened in Wuhan. But they didn't mention that whether the student they from rural or urban areas, but we just put it here. And I remember they use the data, the migration students. So someone they lived in urban area, someone they live in rural area, but we just want to show you the comparisons. Yeah, our data is from Gansu. Oh, they are the other sample score.
Okay.
Oh, I mean that the Wuhan samples, other score at the is 11.24. So our score is much higher to see if they have more mental health problem.
Okay.
That's all.
One more
Oh,
question.
well, thank. No, we just do our research in elementary school and junior high school, grade 4, 5, and 7, 8, because we say the student who will graduate soon, maybe they'll have something different. So we didn't include the 6th grade and it should be 9th grade in our samples. We just we should do that, but we didn't use the subsample to think about that, but we just control the grade as a control variable there. But yeah, but it's good. It's a good suggestion. Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah, but it is a good question. It is a good suggestion. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And we try to actually we are more likely to we are more would like to see the different migration stages relation associated with their academic performance or mental health, but the results we still have to revise it and to collect more data to make it more clear.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Let me.
Thank you for Wenjing. Due to the COVID, so many Chinese scholars couldn't come here in person, and so many Chinese, they are all on the internet. So the next speaker is make sure it's Sun Xiaotong Sun, who is come from Shenyang Agricultural University. Let's welcome Xiaotong Sun.
Okay.
To
thank you.
Show your presentation. Yes. Can you open turn on your camera and then yes.
Okay.
Thank you. And share your screen.
Sorry, I can't share my screen.
Close the screen and then yes.
Okay. Now please try one more time.
Okay.
It's okay?
Okay.
Okay, good. We can see you.
Okay. Good afternoon, my dear teachers and classmates. My name is Sun Xiaotong. I come from Shenyang Agricultural University. I'm very glad to be here and have opportunity to share my paper with you. The title of my presentation is "Does Social Pension Expansion Relieve Depression and Decrease Medical Costs? Evidence from Rural Elderly in China." In the first part of the report, I'm going to begin with introduction. Depression will become the second largest killer of mankind. The number of depressive symptoms, depressed patients in China has reached 19 million. Studies have shown that the rural elderly as a group are less able to care for themselves, have worse economic and physical status than the urban elderly. Depression impairs the physical and the mental health of the rural elderly. For example, depression increase the incidence of acute disease such as cancer and chronic disease such as high blood sugar. Studies have shown that there is a relationship between income and health. The new rural pension scheme is an important source of income for the rural elderly. Although the new rural pension scheme grants some income, the income of the rural elderly is lower than urban elderly. Given this mixed evidence, the goal of this paper is to determine whether the new rural pension scheme positively or negatively impacts depressive symptoms and medical costs induced by depression among the rural elderly. Next, I will introduce the new rural pension scheme. New rural pension scheme refers to a recently established new program that combines social polling and personal account. It is financed by a combination of personal contribution, collective subsidy, and government subsidy. In the next part, I'm going to introduce the conceptual frameworks. Grossman's framework suggests that pension payments to the older may affect mental health through at least 3 plausible channels. First, changes to lifestyle factors such as independent living, service, consumption, leisure time, and connectedness with friends. Second is health investments such as nutritional intake and medical treatment. And third is economic security leading to reduced financial stress. The data used for this study come from the China Family Panel Studies. This is the construction of panel data. This slide introduces the measurement of a CSD. The CSD scale includes the 20 items that are designed to evaluate 4 aspects of depression. It includes somatic symptoms, international problems, depressed affect, and positive affect. The total CSD scores can thus be calculated according to the samples as follows. The characteristics of the main variables are displayed in table S1, including CSD score, depression, and medical costs induced by depression. Table 1, Group A lists the key regression results. The baseline regression model indicates that pension enrollment has a significant effect on both the probability of suffering from depressive symptoms and depression. Table 1, Group B shows the regression outcomes found by using monthly pension as an explanatory variable. The outcomes are similar to those from Table 1, Group A. Table 2, Group A lists key regression results about the influence of pension enrollment on medical costs induced by depression. The results indicate that the rural elderly who participate in the new rural pension scheme spend less on medical service due to depressive symptoms and depression. Table 2, Group B shows the regression outcomes about the effect of pension income on medical spending due to depressive status. The outcomes are similar to those from Table 2, Group A. In the Table 3, the first stage estimation, we examine the correlation between community level monthly pension income and individual pension. Results for rural elderly indicate that the community level monthly pension income increased the probability of enrollment and pension income. These results indicate that monthly pension income at the country level is a strong instrument for both pension and for both pension enrollment and pension benefits. In the second stage, the effects of pension on mental health and medical costs indicate that pensions significantly reduce the degree of depression and the medical expenses due to depression. Table 3 group B shows the regression outcomes about the effect of pension income on medical spending due to depression. Table 3 group B shows the regression results about the effect of pension income on the medical spending due to depressive status based on IV regression. The outcomes are similar to those from Table 3 group A. Pension may improve mental health by increasing confidence about the future. Firstly, we verified the impact of pension on future confidence, as is shown in Table 4. Rural elderly who participate in the new rural pension scheme will see an increase in confidence. Secondly, we verified the effect of confidence about the future on mental health and medical costs. Table 4 shows that each increase in confidence was associated with a drop in depression and medical expenses.
You have 1 minute. 1 minute.
Oh,
yes.
Okay. To discuss the effect in different characteristics of rural elderly, we divided the rural elderly into different groups by gender. I will quickly, the gender result is here, and the education and the chronic disease and the economic support from children to discuss the heterogeneous effects. Okay, now in this part, a robustness check is described. We consider the content regression models by using the CSD scores as explained variables. This part adopt the method of discontinuity regression to verify the causal relationship. We take the age 16 as a random variable. This is the discontinuity point of the new rural pension scheme receiving state. The discontinuity plot between age and participation rate of new rural pension scheme is shown in Figure 2. Table 5 group A reports the regression discontinuity parametric estimation and the linear model. The new rural pension scheme significantly reduced the depression and medical expenditure caused by depression. Table I7 reports the results of placebo test that assumes the age cut point at 55 or 65 years old. Clearly, the regression discontinuity treatment effects are non-significant. These results indicate that the jump in age at 16 years old is reasonable. Okay, this part is the discussion. First, we demonstrate that the new rural pension scheme significantly decreased both mental health and the medical expenditure induced by depression among rural elderly in China. Second, results also show that the influence is particularly great for certain subgroups. One possible explanation of this phenomenon is that pension play different roles in the lives of different groups. From a policy perspective, our results suggest that Chinese government needs to profit the new rural pension scheme to eliminate income cost barriers to mental health, especially for rural elderly. Thank you for your listening.
Okay, thank you for Xiaotong. Any questions? Yes, Professor Jin will give you a question. Just a minute.
I can't hear.
Just a minute. Yes. Maybe you can share here. Yes. Yes.
So many liberation, I couldn't comment.
Yes.
Specific things. No. Okay, so my comments is I think you probably need to reorganize and present more on the discontinuity and also prove discontinuity is a valid approach, and rather than you talk so much on the OIS and then got in the very end and talk about the most more reliable and more common method used in this pension analysis, right?
Yes, a very good suggestion. Yes, only the suggestion. Due to the time limited, so we have to go to the next presenter. Thank you for Xiaotong.
Oh, thank you.
You can turn off. Yes, thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.
The next presenter is Qin Qiuxia. Qin.
Hello, I'm here.
Yes, who also come from Zhejiang University. Could you turn on your camera?
Yeah. Yeah, can
you can turn on your camera and maybe we can see you on the in person.
Yeah, can you see my name?
No, we couldn't see you. Yes, go on. You can begin.
Beginning.
Yes.
It's a great honor.
I mean, 9 minutes. 9 minutes. It's okay.
Okay. It's a great honor to participate in this forum and share with you our thesis that e-commerce helped to narrow the urban-rural income gap in China. Empirical evidence from the National Rural E-commerce Comprehensive Demonstration Policy. I will expand from the following 5 parts. First, the dual urban-rural structure along with evident income gap between urban and rural residents is a common phenomenon in developing countries. How to narrow the urban-rural income gap effectively is a worldwide challenge. China, as the largest developing country in the world, had made a remarkable achievement in economic development since the reform and opening up. However, there are many structural distortions behind this growth, especially the income gap between urban and rural areas. China is striving to solve the problem of urban-rural divide. Therefore, the CPC and the State Council has issued a series of policy arrangements aimed at promoting the integrated development of urban and rural areas. Among them, the adoption of e-commerce is recognized as an effective way to narrow urban-rural disparities. The expansion of rural areas has received a lot of attention, especially an increasing number of studies focusing on Chinese rural e-commerce since the 2010s. However, most of the literature concentrates on the potential of e-commerce to improve agricultural profits and farmers' income. To date, there is no consensus about whether, if so, to what extent the development of rural e-commerce affects the income gap between the urban and rural areas. In order to bridge the gaps in the literature, the overall goal of our study is to answer the following questions. Has the e-commerce played a role in narrowing the income gap between the urban and rural areas? If it has, how does income affect the urban-rural income gap? To make progress, our study explores a quasi-national experiment, National Rural E-commerce Comprehensive Demonstration (NREC) policy since 2014 and examine whether rural areas narrow the urban-rural income gap at a micro level. There are many strands of literature on rural e-commerce. The first strand is ICT and urban-rural income gap. In general, there is no consensus yet among studies on the relationship between the ICT and urban-rural income. Few literatures has studied it directly from the perspective of e-commerce application. E-commerce is a specific and in-depth application of ICT. Studies have the second strand is e-commerce and rural residents. Studies has examined the positive effect of e-commerce on the development of farmers from the different perspectives, such as sale value, employment, and income, and so on. However, there are few studies examining the actual effect of e-commerce on farmers and rural areas from the perspective of urban-rural income gap. For farmers in developing countries, we should not pay attention to their absolute income growth, but also focus on their relative income level. The part 2 is background. In China, although rural incomes did not begin until the 1990s, it has been booming during the 2010s. We can see the Ministry of Finance and the Ministry of Commerce jointly issued the notice on carrying out a comprehensive demonstration of e-commerce in rural areas, a national project that dedicating to fund poverty-stricken areas to develop e-commerce. For the first time in July 2014, they started in the implementation of a comprehensive demonstration policy for e-commerce in rural areas. This is a main connect of National Rural E-commerce Comprehensive Demonstration Policy. We can see from the figure 1 and figure 2 that it can be seen that this project has been the most widely implemented and strongest policy in the field of digital village construction. The part 3 is estimation strategy. We use the following generation difference in difference specific to estimate the effect of e-commerce on the urban-rural income gap. The S is the key selection of criteria. In order to estimate the dynamic impact of the e-commerce policy on urban-rural income gaps, this paper constructs a nonlinear model. This paper makes a large and system empirical accuracy by using the panel data of 1,167 counties in 70 provinces in China from the 2011 to 2018. This is the valuable definition and descriptive statistics. This is summary statistics. As shown in the column 4 in panel B, after controlling the 4 key determinants of the treatment status, none of these characteristics exhibit any statistically or economically significant difference between the treatment and control groups. The treatment and control samples are balanced, which is crucial for the identification. The part 4 is empirical results. Table 3 reports the main estimation results. There is a significant negatively correlation between the NREC policy and the urban-rural income gap. We can see from the column 4 and column 5 the results that allow interaction between flexible time function and selection criteria variables. The coefficients of interest remain negative and significant in these two specifications. Table 4 shows the results of the nonlinear model estimating the dynamic impact of the NREC policy on the urban-rural income gap. We can see that NREC yield has an inverted U-shaped impact on the urban-rural income gap. The above analysis shows that the NREC policy will lead to a comparing of the relative income gap between the urban and rural areas at the initial stage of implementation, and will narrow urban-rural income gap in the later stage. For further analysis, we examine the different effects of the NREC policy on the income and rural and urban-rural residents. The direct effect of the NREC policy to narrow the income gap between the urban and rural areas lies in the effect on the increasing farmers' income. As for whether the development of e-commerce can help farmers increase their income, scholars have come to a conclusion that development of e-commerce has changed the unfavorable situation.
Sorry, you have 1 minute.
Oh yeah, in the later stage of the policy implementation, the digital divide has turned into a digital dividend, allowing urban and rural residents to increase their incomes and have a greater impact on rural residents. This is heterogeneous. Deserve to mention that we found that areas with high ICT infrastructure, the effect of NREC policy in narrowing the urban-rural gap is higher than that in areas with low ICT. In areas with low ICT facilities, the early implementation of NREC policy will widen the urban-rural income gap due to the poor ability to apply the e-commerce. This is a placebo test. This part is a robustness check. The first one is placebo test. 2 is exclude the influence of other policy.
Would you move to the conclusion?
Oh yeah. Yes. The last one is event study. Yeah. The last part is concluding. We can see this paper makes a large and we have no more time. Yeah. This is our conclusion. Yeah, we can see. That is a connect of my report. Thanks for listening.
Thank you very much. You can turn off and then move to your camera. Some questions?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Just a minute.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hello.
Great presentation. Thank you very much. I have one question, which is the question that everyone is going to ask you when you have a difference in difference kind of specification. How are you dealing with the fact that your treatment is not random? You have the places where the treatment happened are probably different than the places where it didn't happen, and so your parallel trends assumption, if you've heard of that, is probably violated. So I think you're trying to fix that with this S times F of T term that you add into the equation, but I'm not entirely sure that that actually solves the problem. So can you say a little bit more about that? And have you tried anything else to think about this issue? Thank you.
It's a good question. We do more to test it, but I have no time to escape it. Yeah.
Okay, Professor Jin will show you some questions. Also, you need to come here. Yes.
I similar to the previous question. Okay, and so I think the other thing related is given the fact this is not the treatment is a government program. It's a demonstration county. 小青金凤庆我说
yeah.
So the demonstration so it's really is e-commerce or and how or just the government's effort, right? Or government's really a selection. The government select some place maybe has more gap urban and rural and want to increase the income in rural, and then you will see the gap reduced. But it's not because of e-commerce, but the government because of pre-selection difference, right? And so it's the program is more about a government program rather than it's the e-commerce self developed. So I think this some issue you probably also have to see what are you evaluating, and so related to that is again the selection. I think it's have to explain a little better. Maybe it's S and these non-linear terms somewhere, but that as Matthew said the previous comment, same. I think it may not control this unobservable, but just similar. I think just a little clearer, right?
Yeah, it's a good suggestion. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation, and thank you for the midnight speaking. Various midnight talk. It's very important and very good for you, and not all. Thank you very much, Qiu Xiang. And we will move to the next one. It's Liu Zhenzhen. Liu, yes. Zhenzhen Liu is come from Nanjing Agricultural University. Zhenzhen Liu, could you help me? Yes, very good.
Yeah, I can.
Yes, you can share your screen, and then you have 9 minutes. When at 8 minutes, I will mention you. Yes.
Okay.
9 minutes. It's okay.
Okay. Does it work now?
Yes. Perfect.
Okay.
Go on.
Okay. Hi everyone. It's my honor to be part of the meeting and share my research, our research with you today. The title of our paper is Risk Aversion Marketing Outlets and Biological Control Practices Adoption Insights from Pear Farmers in China. Followed all of the authors of this paper. Okay, now please allow me to introduce this paper from the following 6 parts according to its framework. First, we come to the introduction part. It covers the reasons why we do this research and our contributions. We found that pesticides are extensively used in China and the main measure to control pests and disease. However, irrational and extensive use of pesticides by farmers has also been widely observed, making China the world's largest consumer of pesticides. At the same time, crop losses caused by pests have not significantly decreased. As a result, agricultural production has become trapped in a vicious circle of increasing dependence on chemical pesticides and increasing difficulty in pest control, which implies increased long-term production costs and continued ecological damage. So the management of pesticides use has become an integral part of ensuring the quality and safety of agricultural products, preventing the environmental pollution and reducing production costs, especially for fresh produce. Accordingly, since 2008, Chinese government has been promoting green control techniques and the main recommended agricultural production techniques, specifically biological control, and it's the centerpiece of these technologies. However, our survey shows that the adoption rate of biological control remain low. So identify the key factors that influencing the adoption of BC practices by individual forage produce grower is fundamental to the promotion and application of the BC and the sustainable development of agriculture. To answer the above questions, we reviewed the existing studies from the following aspects. And in summary, the contributions of this study are as follows. Firstly, we using the experimental approach, which is designed by actual production scenarios to measure Chinese pear farmers' degree of risk aversion. Secondly, clarifying the impact of marketing channels on farmers' adoption of BC, which has often been overlooked in the existing studies. The second part gives the conceptual framework of this paper, showing Fig 1. We divide the factors influencing the adoption of BC into two parts, production drivers and marketing drivers. Risk attitudes influence the BC adoption through the following ways. Firstly, farmers' risk attitudes affect the adoption of specific production techniques by affecting their expected return. And due to the uncertainty in the production process and the limited information available to farmers, although farmers seek to maximize profit in their production decisions, individuals also seek to minimize risk when uncertainty exists. And here we propose the first hypothesis of this study: the lower the risk aversion of farmers, the more inclined they are to adopt BC practices. Market outlets affect BC adoption in the following ways. And the second hypothesis of this study would be cooperation with enterprises, cooperatives, and industry associations in the marketing process has a positive impact on farmers' adoption of BC practices. In part 3, we describe the research method involving experiment design and econometric model. Firstly, a field experiment was conducted for all interviewers to elicit their risk attitudes. We follow the experimental design developed by Holt and Laurie 2002, but frame choices to reflect real farming decisions. We assume constant relative risk aversion for the gains from the lotteries. The utility functions is given by the following, and here is the description. And the study adopted the dichotomous variables and as is explained variables. Therefore, a discrete choice model was used to analyze the causal relationship between variables as following. Part 4 gives us details about the data source and variables. 2 sections of surveys were conducted for this study. First, we surveyed pear growers in 3 main producing areas of pear in Hebei, Shandong, and the Hubei province in China between October to December 2020. A follow-up field experiment was conducted to elicit the degree of farmers' risk aversion. Table 2 shows the result of the range of the relative risk aversion and risk aversion classifications. Overall, our findings show that the majority of farmers are risk averse, accounting for about 76% of the total sample, while about 13% and 10% of farmers fell into the risk living and risk nutrient categories, respectively. The definition and descriptive statistics for the variables using the empirical analysis are presented in Table 3. Table 4 lists the adoption of 4 specific BC practices, it can be seen that the overall adoption rate of BC practices is low, and only about 22% of farmers have adopted at least one of the 4 biological practices. As shown in Table 5, although the number of risk-averse farmers is much higher than that of risk-living farmers, the adoption rate of BC practices by risk-living farmers is significantly higher than that of risk-averse farmers. And Table 6 shows the adoption of BC by farmers with different sales channels models. Most farmers have not established cooperative relations with enterprises, cooperatives, or industry associations or other market organizations in the sales link. The adoption rate of BC by farmers with cooperative sales reached 56%, which was much higher than that of farmers without cooperation. In part 5, we get empirical results. The results of the logic model are presented in in Table 7. These findings are consistent with our expectations and hypotheses. However, we focus on our core variables. The estimation coefficient of risk-aversion parameter is negatively statistically significant at the level of 5%, indicating that farmers' risk attitudes plays an important role in explaining their BC adoption behavior.
You have 1 minute.
Okay. So the other main conclusion of this paper, we can find that the core variables of our model, risk aversion and marketing outlets, are all significant. So the main conclusion of this paper are as follows. First, the most peer farmers are risk averse. Farmers' degree of risk aversion have a significant and negative impact on their adoption of BC practices. And marketing environment is another dramatic factor affecting farmers' adoption of BC. Both green certification and cooperative marketing have a significant role in promoting farmers' adoption of BC practices. And according to the empirical results, we could draw the following implications. First of all, try to reduce the uncertainty faced by farmers. Following 2 measures could be taken into account. Secondly, the role of market environment in the adoption of BC should be taken seriously, following other possible ways. That's all about our paper. Thank you for your attention, and I sincerely appreciate it if you could give some comments or suggestions. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Zhenzhen. Any questions? Yes, just a minute.
I have a very, very quick question. Thanks for your talk. How do you define the stay in bed level of risk aversion? What does that mean exactly? Thank you.
Sorry, I just missed your question. I can't find you.
You can say
yeah.
slowly.
Can you hear me? Yes.
Sorry, could you please? Okay.
Can you hear me? Yes.
Yeah. Now
in your results, one of the levels of risk aversion is called stay in bed. What does that mean exactly? Thank you.
Wait. I mean, in our experiment, stay in bed means in any case he will select the safe choices when who is facing the 2 choices, option A or option B. Who will just choose the one that will not make any noises for him or her. Yeah.
Due to the time limit, so We will move to the next one. Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for Zhenzhen.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay. Thank you.
very good presentation. Next one is, I'm not sure. Wang Jingjing, I'm not sure who is Wang Jingjing. And Liu Yanfang, Yanfang Liu, and Liu Tianyang, or Professor Su Baozhong. No. Not here. Yes, we can move to the last one. The last speaker is Mao Hui, and the other who will, yes, Quan Yurong. It take place in him. It's okay. Quan Yurong. It's okay.
Share screen.
Yes, we can hear you. Yes, you can begin.
Hello
9 minutes.
everyone.
9 minutes. Yeah, it's okay.
Okay.
Oh.
Hello everyone. I'm Quan Yurong. It gives me great honor to be here for this report. Now I'd like to start my report. The title of my paper is risk preference. The title of my paper is risk preference, productive investment, and store return technology option by farmers in China. This paper aims to investigate the impact of risk preference on farmers' adoption of store return technology and its mechanism. I will introduce my paper from the following 6 parts. First of all, store return technology and the kind of conservation tillage technology that is able to effectively alleviate soil fertility degradation can avoid farmers from burning straw in the harvest season and reduce environmental pollution. However, also it has been promoted in China for more than 20 years. The technology adoption rate is still relatively low. And we can see in the figure 1 and figure 2, from 2040 to 2070, there are different degrees of straw burning in different provinces and cities in China, particularly in northeast and central China. And it is shown in figure 3, the degree of straw burning in different months in China was also different. As a large agriculture nation, China produces more than 1 billion tons of cropping straw annually. However, and the adoption rate of store return technology in China is still low. The greater volumes of straw have to be burned in the open air, which seriously affects the environmental and resident health. So it becomes even more urgent to improve the adoption rate of store return technology in China. Therefore, based on the above phenomenon, this paper analyzed the influence of risk preference on farmers' adoption of store return technology, investigate its mechanism from the perspective of productive investment, and deeply explored the regulatory effects of crop insurance, farm scale, and governmental regulation. So, how does risk preference affect farmers' adoption of store return technology? We think that there are 3 main ways. First, farmers are faced with uncertainty of net income and the risks of technology adoption in adopting store return technology, which leads to low willingness for risk-averse and loss-averse farmers to adopt this technology. The risk of uncertain net income is as follows. The diseases and pests originally carried by store returning crops will increase the disease incidence of newly planted crops, increasing pesticide expenditure, and the high cost of adopting technology and the unstable price of agricultural products make it difficult for farmers to obtain higher income. The risk of uncertainty of technical effects is that Store return technology is a representative of intertemporal agricultural technology, and it needs appropriate methods, qualities, and timing to have beneficial effects. So we can see that in improper application of store return technology will also undermine the technical effects, which will hardly meet farmers' expanded benefits. Secondly, risk preference can also affect farmers' adoption of store return technology by promoting their participation in credit. This is because that farmers are faced with risk rationing. Whether to take out loans depends on their willingness for farmers to bear risks. Those who are more afraid of risks and losses are less likely to apply for loans, and they might even voluntarily abandon participating in credit in order to avoid the risks. But a shortage of funds has become the main reason which hinders farmers adopting store return technology. Obtaining credit helps to alleviate farmers' liquidity constraints and increase their opportunities to invest to obtain higher incomes. In summary, farmers who prefer risk are more likely to participate in credit, have less liquidity constraints in agricultural production, and have a higher probability of adopting store return technology. Thirdly, risk preference affects farmers' adoption of store return technology by promoting their productive investment. Store returning methods are inseparable from agriculturally productive fixed assets such as crushing, returning machinery, and combining harvesters with store returning device. Owning their own agricultural machines and tools will make it easier for farmers to adopt store return technology, which is conducive to mobilizing farmers' enthusiasm and initiative in carrying out mechanized operations, such as crushing straw and returning to the field. Therefore, the more risk preference farmers have, the higher their willingness to make the productive investment, the greater the possibility of their purchase store returning machinery. Besides, the higher availability of store returning machinery further promotes farmers' adoption of store return technology. Moreover, the influence of risk preference on farmers' adoption of store return technology will also be affected by crop insurance, farm scale, and governmental regulation. Due to time constraints, I will not elaborate here. Based on this paper proposes the following four hypotheses. Next, let's take a look at how this study was conducted. First of all, the data we used are the micro-survey data of 1,038 rice farmers in 2 periods in Jiangsu, Jiangxi, and Hunan provinces. This is the descriptive statistical table of variables selected in this paper. The empirical models are as follows. From the baseline regression table, we can see that both the risk avoidance and the loss avoidance have a significant inhibitory effect on farmers' adoption of store return technology. From table 3 and table 4, it can also be seen that this result is still valid after using instrumental variable method and the robustness test. It's further found that the risk preference affected farmers' technology adoption by promoting their productive investment. Especially, farmers with more risk preference for risk are more likely to make productive investment, which is more conducive to their adoption of store return technology. Additionally, crop insurance, farm scale, and governmental regulations can positively moderate the impact of risk avoidance and loss avoidance on the adoption behavior of store return technology. That is to say, the negative impact of risk avoidance and loss avoidance on farmers' adoption of store of store return technology. To sum up, we can draw these three conclusions, which are shown on the screen, and I will not repeat here. Based on the research conclusions, we put forward the following policy proposals. Of course, this paper also have the following three contributions. That's all about my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for Yurong. Any question? Any question? Yes, you have, yes, just me here, just here. Wenjin will show you some questions.
Oh, well, I have a quick question. Maybe I missed some things, but for technology adoption, I just want to know, how do you estimate it? Well, does it mean that the farmer, they have willingness to adopt this technology, or do you refer to their like real action that they have adopted in variety, or you just mean that they have their willingness to take that?
Would you get? Maybe you can make sure again.
Yes, dependent variable, but I think they're different.
Do you mean about my about my how do we measure the expand variables? Sorry,
they are the real action. Okay, I think.
Thank you.
Yes, I think I'm as a professor in RCRE. It's I'm happy to see you in Shanxi Normal University. Your focus about the rural development. It's very good. I think you can do so many good results in your research. Thank you very much. Thank you for Yurong. I just make sure the next one, it's I don't know who is here. I just make sure again. Zhang Dan, it's okay. Who is Zhang Dan? Maybe I just make sure. Su Xiaotong, Qiu Xiaoxiang, Liu Zhenzhen, Wu Zhi. The other speaker, I want to make sure. Wang Jingjing, could you help me? Su Baozhong, it's Liu Tianyang. Liu Tianyang, could you help me? Li Yanfang, I just Yanfang Li. Hello? Yes, Yurong Quan, could you turn off your screen? Yes, thank you. So, hello everyone. I think this is a very good presentations for all the Chinese scholars and for the rural development in China. There are so many scholars, not only in China, but also in the whole world. They are all focused about the rural development in China. I'm very happy. And so many famous scholars, just like you, and you have do more research on about how to make the make the serial and some data into combine together and do some good research. You know, China has undergone the rural revitalization. This is a very great reform in China. So I hope all the scholars pay more attention on Chinese development in China. So hope next year we will have more paper and more scholars will take part in this AAEA in person. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, thank you very much, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, teacher.
Yes. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Long.
Yes, thank you very much. Bye-bye. I will share some in-person from pictures for you. Yes, thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.